Hello and welcome back to Vault Holocron, where today I will explain every lightsaber type, crystal and colour in Canon. First, let's look at type. So for this section I'm referring to the blade and not the hilt for the most part. Wikipedia classifies Sith lightsabers as their own type, but I disagree with that method of sorting lightsaber types. I'll mention if a particular type has only been used by a Sith though. First up is the regular single-bladed lightsaber, which has been used by many characters, including Luke Skywalker. Next is the double-bladed lightsaber, also known as the saber staff or light staff. This lightsaber had a blade on both ends. There are a few variants of the double-bladed lightsaber. The hinged double-bladed lightsaber, which could fold and possibly be used to trap another lightsaber blade. Ponkrell used two hinged double-blade lightsabers. The split saber, which could separate into two different lightsabers. Cal Kestis used the split saber. Lightsaber pikes could be double-bladed, but didn't have to be. The double-bladed spinning lightsaber is a variant that spins, and was commonly used by Inquisitors. Now for the Shoto lightsaber. A lightsaber with a shorter blade, used by small wielders such as Yoda, or used as a secondary weapon, as seen in characters like Ahsoka. Next up is the dual-phase lightsaber, which contained two or more kyber crystals. They had a secondary focusing crystal that could be rearranged to change the length of the lightsaber, even in combat. Darth Vader had a dual-phase lightsaber. Next is the broad saber, which had focusing lenses and emitters that made its blade flat and broad. Broad sabers could only cut along the edges. Many Jedi Masters believed it to be less elegant than a standard lightsaber. Now for the Great Lightsaber, which was a very large variation of a lightsaber. They were often used by large species and were very heavy. Next up is the Crossguard lightsaber, which had three blades, one primary blade and two smaller blades that were emitted out of vents. Kylo Ren used a crossguard lightsaber. Next is training lightsabers, also known as youngling lightsabers, practice sabers, or training blades. They were lightsabers that had limited power, so that they were not dangerous. Some regular lightsabers could be put on low power settings and used as training lightsabers. This setting made the lightsabers dimmer and have a slightly different sound. Gotcha! Now for the lightsaber blaster hybrid lightsabers, which had a second emitter that could be used to fire stun bolts. These bolts were not as powerful as regular blasters. Ezra Bridger used the lightsaber blaster hybrid. Next up is the Darksaber, a one-of-a-kind flat black lightsaber made by Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi. By many Mandalorians, it was believed that winning the Darksaber in combat made someone the leader of Mandalore. The Darksaber changed weight depending on how the user connected with the weapon. Next is the sickle-bladed lightsaber, which was curved a bit like a scimitar. We have only seen this through Sith Lord Darth Noctis' lightsaber, and it is a Sith saber. Now for the Light Whip, a lightsaber that had flexible containment shields and had multiple blades. They were harder to use than a regular lightsaber and did not cut things as easily. They were associated with the Night Sisters. The Light Whip was good at combating the forbidden forms of the Sith. It was possible to modify a standard lightsaber to have a whip mode, which was done by the Jedi Knight, Vernestra Rwoh, after she had a Force vision showing her how to do it. Next up is the lightsaber pike, also known as a Jedi Temple Guard lightsaber. They could be double-bladed, could have a hinged double-bladed lightsaber, and could be a single-bladed lightsaber. Although most commonly used by Jedi Temple Guards, they weren't exclusively made by Jedi Temple Guards, with Darth Bane's lightsaber being a pike. Next is the Ichor sword, a sword made of magical ichor. Mother Talzin used one to fight Mace Windu. I don't think it's known whether this is necessarily a lightsaber, but I thought it belonged here. Now for an unknown type of lightsaber, used by wraith-like creatures on Exegol in the book Shadow of the Sith. Here their lightsabers are described to be black, and then with a flash of lightning inverted to be blinding white. They were also described to be both physically tangible and not at the same time, as Luke's lightsaber could both strike them and pass right through them. In this scene, Luke is only partially on Exegol, so some of the mechanics might be a little weird because of that. Now I'm going to look at every lightsaber kyber crystal type. I will only look at kyber crystals that have been shown to work in lightsabers. First up is the Barab ingot, which was found in clusters in mountains on the planet Barab 1. They felt hot and glowed. When used in a lightsaber, they produced a powerful, fiery blade and made the lightsaber a little radioactive. Next is the Christophis crystal, which was found on Christophis. When used in a lightsaber, they amplified kinetic energy to give more powerful attacks. Now for the Danite crystal. When used in a lightsaber, they produced a low-powered blade. Danite crystal lightsabers were often used in Jedi training sabers, as they weren't dangerous. Next up is the Danteri crystal, which was found on the planet Dantooine. They used to be used in lightsabers very commonly, due to there being a Jedi temple on Dantooine. They could sometimes be found in Kinrath eggs, but it was unknown how they got there. Next is the Dragite gem, which was found on the Da'olab mountain range in Mahili. They were very brittle and it was hard to make a lightsaber from them. When used in a lightsaber, they hummed loudly and produced shockwaves whenever they struck a solid object. This shockwave could disorientate opponents. Now for the Ghostfire crystal, which could be found in rocky formations on many Outer Rim worlds. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a dim and translucent blade, almost no sound, and illusory after images following the wielder's movements, hiding the actual position of the blade. Next up is the Ilum crystal, which was found on the planet Ilum. They were considered one of the best crystals to use to make a lightsaber. Next is the Jedha crystal, which was found on the moon Jedha. They were treasured by Jedi and the Church of the Force. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced focused, potent blades. After the destruction of Jedha, many of the recovered Jedha crystals were cracked. When cracked Jedha crystals were used to make a lightsaber, they produced unstable, ragged blades. Now for the Kathrasite crystal. When used in a lightsaber, they produced a low-power blade. They were used by the Jedi for training lightsabers because they weren't dangerous. Next up is the Kimber stone, which was found on the moon of Ynes. When used to make lightsabers, they produced a non-deadly blade. Next is the Krayt Dragon pearl, which was found in the bellies of Krayt dragons. Krayt dragons ate stones to help digest food. Their digestive system broke down the rock. If a Krayt dragon ate rock containing a kyber crystal, then the crystal would stay in their stomach and form a Krayt Dragon pearl. Krayt Dragon pearls varied in size. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a very powerful and destructive blade that howled when ignited. Now for the Luridian gemstone, which enslaved full-sensitive Luridians' mind during the Khan's disorders. When used to make a lightsaber, they allowed the user to predict the opponent's attacks. Next up is the Mephite crystal, which was the type of Adagan crystal found in places in and around the Adaga system, and on Ilum. Mephite crystals could have a small amount of a full-sensitive's power infused into them. When used to make a lightsaber, the crystal gave off a small force signature that could be sensed. Next is the Nishalarite stone, which was a class of kyber crystal found on planets with strong magnetic fields. They were dark grey or blue-black in colour. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced dense blades that intensified when facing magnetic north. Now for the Pontite crystal, which was found on Ilum and Ossus. They could be used to make lightsabers. Next up is the Seeker Crystal, which it was unknown where they came from. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a pink blade and allowed the user to sense nearby beings and danger. They, however, did not tell the user where the danger was. Next is the Solari Crystal, which was so rare they were deemed to be a myth by the time of the Galactic Empire. They were usually found by people strong in the light side of the Force. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced wide blades, good for blocking blaster bolts, and they performed better if someone was well attuned with the Force. Now for the Saurian Crystal, which reflect his light to look like fire. When used to make a lightsaber, the blade would have a power surge every time it struck an object. Next up is the Synthetic Kyber Crystal, which was green, unstable and explosive. They were used by Jedi and Sith to create lightsabers. Next is the Tainted Night Sister Crystal, which was created by soaking a Kyber crystal in Duthamir's magical ichor to pervert the crystal's connection to the Force. When used to make a lightsaber, it created a blade that let off a putrid, choking green smoke. No connection has yet been made between this crystal and the ichor sword. Now for the Thontayan Crystal, which could be used to help in healing and pain reduction. When a Jedi sustained a lot of damage in a battle in the Clone Wars, they replaced their damaged Kyber crystal with a Thontayan crystal, and found it allowed them to fight through debilitating pain. Next up is the Twin Kyber Crystal, which was part of a pair of Kyber crystals connected through the Force. They could be used in lightsabers, and one crystal could be used to track the other. Next is the Varpaline Crystal, which could be found on the planet Miralis 2. They ranged in colour from white to gold. They were hard and very dense. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a sharp sound when striking objects, and cut through objects more easily than other blades. Now for the Zophis Crystal, which could be found on the planet Zoph. They used to be used a lot to make lightsabers. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a blade which was unstable and could be dangerous due to the resonating properties of the Zophis crystal. This blade could easily cut through Durasteel plates. Next up is Obsidian. This technically isn't a Kyber crystal, but some specific obsidian could be used to make a lightsaber. This obsidian was mined from darkside shrines, and was infused with the power of the dark side. When used to make a lightsaber, they were very similar to bled Kyber crystals, and produced a red blade. Next is the Colon Crystal, which was found on Pygel's moon. They had a structure that was very similar to Kyber crystals, but they weren't Kyber crystals. They were orange. Colon crystals could be used to make an energy shield that was impenetrable by typical lightsabers. When used to make a lightsaber, they produced a low-power orange blade that could cut through the energy shields made from colon crystals. Finally, let's look at lightsaber colour. The colour of the lightsaber can be subjective, especially because some may say that some words such as indigo are just a fancy way of saying a lightsaber is purple. Here I'm going to use the colours used on Wikipedia. First up is the blue lightsaber. Notable blue lightsaber wielders are Anakin, Obi-Wan and Jarl Puth. Next is the green lightsaber. Notable green lightsaber wielders are Yoda, Luke Skywalker and Qui-Gon Jinn. Now for the red lightsaber. To obtain a red lightsaber, typically a Kyber crystal had to be bled, a process involving bending a Kyber crystal to a Force user's will. This was a dark side practice. However, a red lightsaber could also be made from obsidian. Notable red lightsaber wielders are Darth Vader, Count Dooku, and Emperor Palpatine. Next up is the purple lightsaber. Notable purple lightsaber wielders are Mace Windu, Vernestra, and Hulik. Next is the yellow lightsaber. Yellow lightsabers were typically used by Jedi Temple guards. Notable yellow lightsaber wielders are Rey, Ventress, and the Grand Inquisitor. Now for the yellow-green lightsaber. Notable yellow-green lightsaber wielders are Ahsoka and Ulik Keldroma. Next up is the light blue lightsaber. Notable light blue lightsaber wielders are Terra Sinube, Imri, and Lissa Vots. Next is the black lightsaber. The dark saber is a black lightsaber. Notable black lightsaber wielders are Maul, Sabine Wren, and Bo-Katan. Now for the white lightsaber. White lightsabers could be produced when a light side user purified a bled kyber crystal. Notable white lightsaber wielders are Ahsoka, Orla Jareni, and Jorah Mali. Next up is the orange-red lightsaber. Notable orange-red lightsaber wielders are Baylan Skull, Shin Hati, and possibly Darth Bane, whose lightsaber pike has been described as being fiery orange. Next is the orange lightsaber. Colin crystals produced orange lightsabers, but orange lightsabers could be obtained through other means. Notable orange lightsaber wielders are Dryer Thorn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Next up is the cyan lightsaber. Notable cyan lightsaber wielders are Anoth Estra. Next up is the indigo lightsaber. Notable indigo lightsaber wielders are Vix Phonic. Next up is the magenta lightsaber. Notable magenta lightsaber wielders are Cleland Cuds. Next up is the pink lightsaber. There are no known wielders. Wikipedia both refers to Kylo Ren's lightsaber as being red and being red-yellow. I personally would consider it red, so I have left it out of the list. All information in this video is canon, because Wikipedia has listed it as being canon, as of when I've made this video. Thank you for watching, may the force be with you, and bye.